one more thing on Harbaugh. I literally just got a notification like
No,
2 minutes ago.
don't hurt. No,
You're
no, no.
are you
Please,
joking
no,
or are you
no,
for
no,
real?
please don't say
He's
it.
kidding. He's kidding.
No, I'm serious.
No.
Please
All
don't
right,
say
let's hear it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate Podcast. We're finally at the Super Bowl, and who would have thought it'd be the Bengals versus the Rams? Maybe people thought Rams, but the Bengals, Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow gets it done. Unbelievable. I cannot believe it. Look at this jersey. I bought this, what was it, before the first season, or before the first game, and got it for Chris Evans, the one guy that we interviewed in the offseason. And just so happens that he's going to the freaking Super Bowl. How nuts is that? We're talking to someone who is going to the Super Bowl.
I'm so proud. I'm so happy. It's so cool to see Chris there. Anyone who's listened to the podcast, he's always been like our if we ever have a studio, we're gonna get like a framed photo of him. It's crazy. It's a good looking jersey, I'll tell you that.
It's great.
Yeah. And if any other NFL players are watching, basically what we're trying to say is if you come on our podcast, you'll make the Super Bowl. So just find a way to come on.
The analytics are 100%.
We're 100% so far. So that's all. We'll leave it at that.
Our inbox is going to be flooded after this. Like freaking Aaron Rodgers is like, hey, man, I'll come on yours instead of the Pat McAfee show, man.
please, I need this. No. Yeah, that's awesome, though.
Yeah, it is awesome.
And both games were amazing. The Rams 49ers, Chiefs Bengals, both games were amazing. I said at the end of the last podcast, I was like, man, I hope that this week's games are going to be just as exciting and as suspenseful as last week. And it just nearly was. Each game decided by 3 points. One went into overtime, and Money McPherson does it again. This guy is the all-star. Forget Joe Burrow. McPherson is definitely the MVP so far, next to the Bengals defense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Money Mack, the fact that he called this shot in the AFC Championship and then go to the AFC Championship. I don't think he called this shot this time, but definitely he's just cold. He's cold.
Well, he might break Adam Vinatieri's postseason record, I think. I think it's 14 field goals made, and he's at 12. So,
oh, really?
I think that's around what it is. But they're saying that, I mean, they're hoping to make good use of him, so it's crazy. Because he was drafted in the 5th round, right?
Correct.
Wow.
We might have, I don't know if we had a podcast. We might have roasted. That's a decision that in the 5th round, a kicker. That's what we roast each other for doing that in fantasy. But,
yeah,
maybe this is a Casablanca.
I mean, do we know how early he went in terms of kickers? Like, was he the number 1 kicker taken off the board or like the 5th? Like,
I mean, I don't know if we talked about the kicker, but I know in the Twitter world that they got roasted for doing that pick. We roasted him for picking Jamar Chase at first instead of Penei Sewell, and this definitely was the right decision to pick.
Oh yeah,
Chase.
You have to be happy with that decision.
With no line, they still make it to the Super Bowl. It's incredible. I don't get it.
It is insane.
So before we get into all those games, did you find the stat?
I did. Yeah, sorry, I was muted. While I was typing, I didn't want to hear it. But apparently, he was the only kicker drafted last year.
Oh,
in the 5th round, pick 149 by the Bengals.
Maybe we should have the Bengals, the scout department, on our podcast because they get McPherson, they get Chris Evans. They really nailed that draft. They got Chase.
Interesting decision to bring on someone who works for the scout. Like, what did you see in McPherson?
What did you see in Chase and Evans?
Hey,
that would be pretty awesome.
We talked to Captain America, and we like what you're doing over there.
I do know that McPherson put out, when he was in Florida, he put out a video of him kicking a ball, and it was all the way up in like the rafters in the practice facility, and it was a water bottle, and the football hit the top of the water bottle cap and spun it off.
Like, I saw that.
The cap off. So like, dead accurate. That guy.
He was on. I saw him talking about that recently, like within the last couple weeks. I forget what show he was on, but they asked him about that. They're like, we saw some trick shot where you kicked. They're like, was that hard? He's like, didn't really take that many attempts. And I'm like, what? What? How does that not take that many
like
attempts?
Messi, or Ronaldo. Messi or Ronaldo something. I was
He's-
gonna say, you think of all the great quarterback kicker pairings, like what was it, Manning and Vinatieri, Brady Goskowski. Like maybe this is the start of something, Casablanca-esque, like a friendship here. I don't
Yeah,
know. He's that guy. He's that caliber of kicker. I mean, to show without him, they wouldn't. He's hit 2-3 game winners in the past as many weeks.
Yeah.
yeah.
Crazy.
And just straight down the middle. And he was talking about the fact that he's like, kickers, we don't aim to like get it in between the posts. He's like, we're aiming for a spot like beyond the net. So we're trying to hit like within a foot.
Person.
So he's like,
Exactly.
that's how I was able to hit that trick shot. Cause like in practice, we try to get it within like a 1 yard, box. So
Yeah,
that's
aim
crazy.
small, miss small.
And remember, they played the Packers this season, and that game went back and forth in overtime, and he drilled one for the win after missing one.
Yeah.
I would like to see a stat from that point on to now, because he had
Yeah.
missed like a wide open field goal in overtime, and then the Packers, Mason Crossbar missed one,
Oh,
and then he went back down to McPherson and hit it, but it seems like he hasn't missed since that point. But we'll get into all that. The Chiefs, Bengals, Rams, 49ers, and also, sadly, the Tom Brady retirement. That'll be our conclusion to this episode. We want to get into something near and dear to my heart, very close to me, Jim Harbaugh. So Jim Harbaugh, according to sources, is meeting with the Vikings today, apparently. And this is their second meeting. I think it's their first one in person, but it's their second one total. And the rumor is that if he's offered the job, he'll take it, which was the same case for the Raiders when he was interviewing with them. But I guess they never had talks. This is really the first team that's actually, giving Harbaugh an interview. And from the reports, it looks like Harbaugh is swaying towards coming back to the NFL and coaching the Vikings. Now, there's a couple problems I have here. One is the starting quarterback for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, is a Michigan State alum. And I think there's some conflict there. So I don't know why he would want to ruin his legacy with a Michigan State quarterback who's really just been unsuccessful.
Well, at that point, if it doesn't work out, he could just blame it on Kirk and be like, well, he went to Michigan State, so like there's nothing I could do.
Or like he's sabotaging, like he's going to the NFL just to get him out of the position. Some really dark Machiavellian, like really wasted potential there.
I get it now. Okay, so he just wants to like really drive down Michigan State, maybe totally screw him over. Okay,
yeah, honestly,
that makes sense.
Honestly, I really think he doesn't believe he'll beat Ohio State in the next few years. So once he beat him that one time, he's like, I think I've done my job.
Yeah, I think that honestly, I kind of agree with that. I think that's part of it. Is that how much further can they go?
Well, let me go back to what we have in Michigan. We have JJ McCarthy, who is a 5-star quarterback and just generational talent. And as a freshman, weaved his way into the starting lineup, was in and out in a 2-quarterback system for Michigan. He had amazing plays, has generational arm. Like, this is the most talented quarterback that Jim Harbaugh has ever had. And you don't lose a single offensive player except for 2 offensive linemen. Like, this team is just going to get better. And, they did lose their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. He went back to the Ravens to be their defensive coordinator. But that's not too difficult. He kind of laid out the blueprint for us as far as like beating Ohio State and just having one of our best seasons we've ever had. But like, why not try it out with JJ McCarthy? I mean, this is the guy that you've been wanting for your whole time at Michigan. You finally get it right. You get to the college football playoff, win a Big Ten championship. And now you're going to start at ground zero again and go to the Vikings with a quarterback that is decent. He puts up stats, but he's not a winner. So I feel like with a new coach, they're going to want Kirk Cousins out. it's just starting all over again. And you finally, put you put everything in. I don't know. I'm just sad, man.
You don't want to lose them. Your heart's
don't.
getting in the way of your head, Jared.
I think so. But if I had to argue, I mean, I don't know if I would want to be an NFL coach right now. I'd rather be in college because we made it to the college football playoff with a good quarterback in Cade McNamara, but definitely he was not like the sole reason we won. Like everybody contributed. He finally got a great culture around him, and you keep that culture and add a 5-star JJ McCarthy, who's going to be the starter. Like, I don't know. And he loves being there.
I think in that sense, I think that's where I see your argument is that, like, once you have a team get to the playoff, like you're on, like, this is your like you said, this is your best season you just had in a long time. So like the culture that you just built, even though you're losing some star players like Hutchinson and players like that, you still built that culture and you built a culture of winning. So like, this is your best. I think this is your, like, if he were to stay, he would still have a really great year, better than his average year. Maybe not as good as last year, but he would contend for the college football playoff.
It's gonna be tough these next few years for Michigan, and he knows it. That quarterback CJ Stroud's coming back, but have you heard of that receiver, Jackson Smith in Jigba?
But we beat him. Like, I don't know what we're not.
Yeah, but that guy, that receiver, I guess they didn't use him enough that game, but he's a stud. He's gonna be good in the NFL. He's from Rockwall, Texas. That's why I know him.
But think about this, Jonathan. Think about this. They had Olave, Njigba, and they had Garrett Wilson. All three of them just this last year, and we beat them. So I don't think
they didn't utilize him enough. Like if you saw towards the end of their season, they started to use him more. They saw he was good. They're like, oh dang, this guy's the real deal. I think it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for Michigan.
Ohio State's defense is lacking big time. I think Ryan Day is an offensive coach. He recruited a lot of great offensive players, but he totally forgot about the defense. And that defense was very weak. They quit during that Michigan game. And you saw in the Rose Bowl, they gave up like 42, 47 points. So that defense is going to be a big weakness. And with Michigan, who just straight up runs the ball, I mean, that game wasn't even close. We just dominated them. And Michigan State won because the ref gave them they took a touchdown away from us. So Michigan State barely beat us, but we literally just ran the table this whole year and didn't even have JJ McCarthy as the starting QB. So now you have JJ McCarthy coming in along with every other offensive starter back, including Ronnie Bell, who was out with a torn ACL, who's our best receiver. Everything just fits perfectly. You're losing a lot of defensive talent and your defensive coordinator, but he's a great coach. He can find great talent at the defensive coordinator position and fill those roles.
And there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, right? Y'all went to the college football championship. So, a lot of fans are going to be expecting that again. And he knows that. So that puts a lot of pressure on him. So he's like, let me go to a team that's sort of like an NFL team that's, sort of building still. And where their expectations aren't that high. I don't have to be stressed as much. Because here, if I don't make the college football championship again, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of talk about my next steps. So why don't I leave while I'm still strong? I had a great season. I beat Ohio State, and I'm going out a champion. People love me at Michigan. I want it to remain that way.
Yeah, I think it's more about that, like timing and stuff. Like it's the same thing with Brady. Like Brady could stay and probably make it to the NFC Championship next year and maybe win the Super Bowl, but Harbaugh probably just feels it that he wants to just get back into the NFL for whatever reason. I don't know. But he is the thing I would say, something you brought up earlier, Jared, is like, I know playing against Rodgers in that division isn't ideal, but he doesn't know if Rodgers is staying. And plus, out of all the head coaching vacancies, like the Vikings have, I think, one of the best chances to turn it around. We see the Dolphins, we see Texans, Giants, Bears, like those are all worse teams, I think, than the Vikings. So the Vikings might not be too bad of a spot for him.
Yeah, Vikings aren't in a terrible position. What do you guys think about the Raiders hiring Josh McDaniels? And it's official. They had the press conference. So
really?
He is officially a Raider. He can't go back. Well, I guess he can, but I think they signed the contract. I think it's inked, signed, sealed, delivered. So Josh McDaniels going to the Raiders can have it's an offensive mind paired up with Derek Carr. Now, one guy we were talking about Green Bay, Devontae Adams could pair up with his college buddy Derek Carr in Las Vegas after this new coach. I did see Josh Jacobs not so happy another Josh is in the team because he tweeted out I don't know what you would call it, just like a flat face, the emoji with just like the flat smile. So he posted that with like something else, and within like 4 minutes it got deleted. So Jacobs must not be happy. I don't know why. Maybe because he thinks Josh McDaniels won't use him, but that's something to look into.
Well, when you think about the Patriots, you think of their running backs throughout the years. They never stay on one guy. Blunt was there for a year. Damian Harris, Sony Michel was there for a year. Ramondre Stevenson. It's like like James White, like Dion Lewis. They always had all these guys. So like I guess I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but that could be one of the reasons because when you think of the Patriots, you always think of running back by committee. So
yeah,
and I don't.
Who is their best running back? Like LeGarrette Blunt, maybe, but
yeah.
I don't think the Raiders had a huge offensive problem. It was more the defense, and they're in the AFC West, I believe, right?
Yeah.
It's with Chargers, Chiefs, Denver,
Broncos.
It's an offensive.
It's an offensive division, and so I don't think offense was their issue. I think they're going to be able to score points. It's about the defensive side of the ball. So I don't know. Like it doesn't make a huge difference. Still think their offense is going to be good, really good. Maybe Josh McDaniels can make it a little bit better, but I mean that wasn't an issue. So in terms of
you think they should have hired a defensive-minded coach?
I think they should have kept that coach. I think they should have kept I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Did they end up keeping him though? Did they end up keeping him like for a special teams coach?
No, isn't he interviewing for like Jaguars or something?
Yeah, I thought he was gone. Like I thought he was interviewing for some other team.
Okay, probably because McDaniels is going to get a whole new staff.
Yeah, probably.
The stuff this coach, this old coach had to go through this whole year and was still able to, make the playoffs. I think that's really impressive. And so,
but you don't know what's going on inside there, inside the building. Like same thing with Flores and the Dolphins. Like we don't know. Like on paper, we're like, oh yeah, that seems weird, but you never know what goes on inside the building and everything like that.
It's like you have to judge these guys based off of wins and losses and not off of emotions and other things. It's really about wins and losses. This is a competitive league. We're trying to win, right? So I'd say most of the time it should be on wins and losses, unless you have a John Gruden or somebody that's really.
Yeah, but if you think about it, so you're saying you would rather have Bisaccia, who they went through a lot of things, or would you rather have McDaniels as their head coach, who won a lot of Super Bowls? So like, if you're saying wins and losses, then McDaniels has more wins and losses.
No. Well, wasn't he a head coach before for like Broncos and other teams?
Yeah, the Broncos.
He's not that successful as a head coach. Under Bill Belichick,
that was 10 years ago. Give him another chance.
No. It's different between being an offensive coordinator and a head coach. A head coach has so much more responsibility. You can't just do offense. You have to worry about special teams. You have to worry about defense.
Yeah, but that was 10 years ago. Why don't you give him another chance? 10 years ago, the game was so much different than it is today.
Yeah, but still, he enjoys offense more. I don't know why. Like,
obviously,
a lot of these guys
nowadays, you need
a lot of these guys go from offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to head coach, obviously, because it's higher pay, right? That's what he's doing. He's getting a pay raise. Okay, that's fine. But still, I don't think he's going to be successful as a head coach. He's going to be able to score points on offense. His defense is going to struggle.
Why do you hate? There's two teams that you just hate: the Bills and the Raiders. You just
I don't hate the Raiders. I think the Raiders are good. I like the Raiders. I like Derek Carr. He's I like him as a person. He's a great guy.
You just don't like this hire?
No, I just don't like this hire.
So you would have rather had like Brian Flores or somebody.
No. I would have had that coach again. I would have had that coach. Keep him. That's annoying. If I was him, I'd be really annoyed.
I don't know why they didn't keep. I was looking it up while you were talking, and it was like saying how a lot of the team's captains of the Raiders were praising like how much they loved Bisaccia, even like Carr and Crosby. Like some of the stars that on that team were saying like at the beginning how much they wanted him to get the job. So it's like who knows why they're going in a different direction when this is the first time the Raiders made the playoffs since 2016
Wow.
with him
But it's
coaching
also
under 10
because
games.
they added the extra playoff spot. So it's like,
Sure,
Still, I mean,
sure. But coming down to it, I mean, they made it in.
they made
you
it
know?
in. And
How
he
many-
hand wrote, I think I told you all this, that he hand wrote every single player a note at the end of the season thanking them for their hard work and effort.
Yeah.
That's great
Dang.
culture. That's a great leader. And he took him to the playoffs. They should have kept him. I don't understand this. Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator. He should stick to that. That's where he's most successful. I don't think he's going to be a good head coach. He
I
wasn't
think
in the past.
Bisaccia was a special teams
Special
guy.
team. Yeah. Well, in this league though, when was the last like defensive coordinator or defensive minded coach that was like successful? I think all the successful ones are offensive coordinators, like Zach Taylor with the Bengals. He's succeeding. Sean McVay. They're both in the Super Bowl. They're both offensive coordinators.
was it the Jaguars? Like, remember when they had Calais Campbell, Boye, Ramsey?
That was Doug Marrone.
Yeah.
I don't-
Harbaugh
and,
on the Ravens. He's like a defense guy, right?
Harbaugh's just like a quarterback guy.
Oh, the Broncos. They were when Peyton won. That was mostly defensive. I
Yeah.
don't know who the coordinator
Yeah,
was.
who is the court? Because I'm thinking just like in this day and age, it's like all the offensive coordinators are becoming head coaches and succeeding, and all the defensive coordinators become head coaches, and they're like, like Dan Quinn was like the leader of the Legion of Boom in Seattle, and then he goes to the Falcons, and it's just like a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, they went to the Super Bowl, but
Oh yeah, and
He did
Doug
go to-
was offensive coordinator.
Wait, did he really? Was he?
Yeah, with
he let him.
with the
28-3.
Falcons, 28-3
Mm,
head
All right.
coach.
prove me wrong there. Good one. Good memory. All right, let's move on to some of the games. Lastly, Jim Harbaugh, if you're listening, this is the last time that you're part of the Michigan Wolverines. Thank you so much for this year. We had so much fun. Big Ten championship, beating Ohio State, beating Penn State. It was just a great time. So I hope you're back. And if not, then Tom Brady, if you're listening, there's this job in Ann Arbor. It's a great place to retire. You can go to all the hockey games. You can go to all the basketball games. Good culture, good vibe. Party. Invite Gronk. He could be our tight end coach. You can go to all the frat parties. It's a great time. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
see
I'm
why you
sure.
tear it down.
I'm sure Brady would want to leave Tampa Bay and go all the way up to Michigan and get 8 months of snow.
It's crazy. He's actually retiring in Florida. Who would have thought?
Yeah, but one more thing on Harbaugh. I literally just got a notification like
No.
2 minutes ago.
Don't hurt. No,
You're
no,
jo-
no.
are you
Please,
joking
no,
or are you
no,
for real?
Please don't say
he's
it.
kidding. He's kidding.
No, I'm serious.
No.
Please don't
All right,
say
let's hear it.
It's nothing definitive,
Okay.
Vikings, I call it.
but Rappaport just reported, he said Jim Harbaugh is meeting with Vikings Wednesday, which is tomorrow, for head coach role and is confident he'll get it.
Fuck it up.
Wow.
Fuck it up, Harbaugh. Please. Tell him you're going to trade Justin Jefferson. Something, please.
He's like, we should just drop Jefferson. We don't even need to trade him. Let's just
It's like, if you hire me, I'm trading every single person. I want a whole new player personnel. All
That's
right.
what I do in Madden to get a bunch of first-round picks just to make the team
Yeah.
in my image. Just give
It's
away
like-
everyone.
I don't like anybody on this team. I want a fresh 22 players. So I want the first 22 picks.
I don't want. That's interesting.
I hope he doesn't do it. He's so happy. Like it's been a while since I've seen him just this happy this season. Even his brother says it, and he goes to all the games with his kids. Like
You're
his
really
kid's
trying to
gonna-
rope him into
his-
staying at the job. It's just
Think of the
not even a
kid.
take. It's just
That kid is gonna have to
This
go
is
to a
emotional
whole new
appeal.
school.
it's pathos.
It's unfair. All right. Back to the NFL with the Chiefs Bengals. What an amazing game. So it was a tale of two halves. The first half, 21-7, I believe, or 21-10.
21-10.
21-10 Chiefs. They were just rolling. I mean, I think they only punted maybe twice in the whole half. Didn't seem like they were having any problems. Second half hits. And the total yards, 83 total yards for the second half and including overtime for the Chiefs, only 3 points. And I believe that Mahomes only had 55 yards passing and 1 interception, maybe 2.
2.
2 interceptions. Incredible. A
Yeah.
true tale of two halves. I don't know if it was Zach Taylor. I don't know if it was the defensive coordinator, but that defense was stellar. I could not believe it. And, I noticed just off of my untrained eye that they had a QB spy in the second half. And I think it was Sam Hubbard, who was the QB spy, and he'd wait. And then as soon as, Mahomes even thought about going outside, he would just dart right to him.
Well, because they were only rushing 3 for like a bunch of plays. Remember, because there were a handful of plays. Remember where Mahomes would drop back in the second half and there's 3 guys rushing and he's just standing there like looking. And we're like, what the heck? And then Hubbard, like you said, is not really in the screen, but all of a sudden you see like Mahomes take a step and Hubbard just like books it. And then it was like every time that Mahomes had all that time, he never completed a pass. And you're like, what the heck? So it was like a coverage sack along with like a good QB spy.
Yeah, it was a combination of many different things, but I think
Jonathan, you're gonna do a breakdown, right? You better do a breakdown.
Yeah, I should. But I would say more than X's and O's. If you saw in the beginning of the second half, McCall Hardman, Tyreek Hill, they're arguing basically, and they reported that McCall Hardman was complaining to the quarterback's coach that he wasn't getting the ball enough, and him and Tyreek Hill going at it. That was the downhill of the Chiefs. Once you start fighting internally, then all hope is lost. So after that, I knew they were going to lose. I mean, I knew it was going to be really close. Actually, I didn't know they're going to lose, but I knew it was going to be very close. That's why when it's headed into overtime, I was like, guys, I'm not too confident in this. The way
you did call it. I was packing it up. I was like, I hate this game. I hate overtime. I hate the NFL. It's a stupid game.
But not to interrupt you, John, but I'll still put this out there for anyone who says like, oh, well, now it went into overtime. No one's complaining. I'm still complaining. The overtime rules are still dumb.
Yeah.
The fact that you guys heard how loud the stadium cheered when they won the coin toss, because they had a 90% chance of winning, So it's more testament to the Bengals overcoming or to the Chiefs capitulating or something. Like it's still dumb. What's cool about it this time is that you got to see both quarterbacks play, and both defenses play. So before in the future when we're like, why didn't we complain? Like it's because it was a better outcome. It's still dumb that the coin toss is that important. So, John, you were saying?
Yeah, I think the turning point, and you guys probably saw it too, was at the end of the first half when the Chiefs had a minute to go down the field. They get down to the 2-yard line. They have 2 plays with 9 seconds. First one goes incomplete, and then the second one, Mahomes makes a big mistake, and he doesn't throw it into the end zone. He throws it to Tyreek, 2 yards out of the end zone, and he gets tackled, and there goes the half. So if they would have got a field goal there, hypothetically they would have won the game because they would have had 3 more points, but we don't know how the second half would have played out. But I think going off, when you saw them jogging off the field, you could tell it was like, oh, we just missed a huge opportunity, and Bengals had momentum at that point. That was I think that was a turning point.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Chiefs shot themselves in the foot more so than the Bengals. That's why I wouldn't call this one of the best games of the season. It wasn't because
I wouldn't. I think the first win against the Chiefs was more impressive than this win for the Bengals.
It's still good football, but there's been a lot of competition for best game of the season in the past 4 or 5 weeks. So it's kind of hard to call it, But it does feel different.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm saying it would have been better if we got both teams' best, if they played their best, and Bengals ended up going on top, kind of like Buffalo and Chiefs.
Yeah,
I would have been satisfied. But Chiefs kind of shot themselves in the foot multiple times.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Bengals got a little bit lucky and stuff. So I mean, hey, things have went the Bengals' way this postseason. Okay, they're having a Cinderella year. That's great. We'll see if they do good in the Super Bowl. But it's just I wish they got the Chiefs' best because they didn't get the Chiefs' best. The Chiefs screwed it up for themselves. Mahomes was sort of struggling second half. I don't know.
I think they just got outplayed. I mean, the defense, the Bengals defense.
The adjustments, the halftime.
But there were a lot of passes that Mahomes missed.
Exactly.
The one that he hit Tyreek and it got intercepted in overtime. Kelsey was open 10 yards down the field, and he didn't take that pass. So yes, the defense gets credit for that because they got in his head and forced him to make mistakes. But like Mahomes, you don't really see that often. For him to just he seemed a little uneasy and like nervous.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was reading an ESPN article, and one of the concerns was quoting it. The Bengals made a major defensive adjustment after falling behind the Chiefs 21-3 on Sunday, most notably taking away receiver Tyreek Hill and passes outside the numbers in general. So it's talking about like whatever the core, and I'm sure that's not the only thing, but what I saw in the Chiefs wasn't them just deciding to be bad, but some of the things that they were able to patch up from the beginning of the season. So like Mahomes was like kind of getting impatient, kind of trying to play hero ball. He was throwing more interceptions at a rate. Like he calmed down and became more like what we knew him to be. But and then also the defense had troubles. So then it was like we mentioned this last week. Like if Josh Allen was able to pick apart that Chiefs defense, then Burrow was able to do the same. And this time, I like that you mentioned the QB spy, essentially almost like a QB read, QB option from the defensive point, because that they came in that the Bengals defense, like even Mahomes on a bad day is still really, really good. And yet he's really, really dangerous. But the Bengals defense and the special teams were able to hold their own against them and come out on top. And that's part of the reason why they won. I think probably the bigger reason than just Burrow or even just the McPherson. But like I love that towards the end of the second half when like it was like you felt like Mahomes was about to do something special, and then you just see the linebacker darting up the middle just to put. I don't even think he got the sack, but just the pressure clearly like phased Mahomes, and that was like that's when the defense is on and they're willing to do that. It was a lot of fun to watch that, but whatever adjustments they did worked. So I think they relied too. I mentioned this last week, but the Chiefs, when they rely too much on the big play, when you don't get the big play, it's like, what are we doing wrong? Even though you're totally capable of playing like 5 and out, 5 and out, 5, like dare I say boring football, but converting every time you could if you wanted. But it's like, I don't know whether it's the coordinator or the players, but it's like if I'm not getting the ball the way I want it, I don't know, So I think it's a testament to how good the Bengals are.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to the Bengals. I mean, they were down 21-10 at half in Arrowhead. So like
11 points. I mean,
well, the same. I texted you guys at the half.
I have it up. I have it up right now. I was going to talk about it. John, you texted in our group chat. As soon as that ended, I said, "Big mistake," referring to the stop at goal line and at halftime. You said, "Yeah, that wasn't good." In the first meeting between the two teams, the Chiefs led by 11 at half. ... They lead by 11 now. And that was the start of it.
I mean, that's all the Bengals needed. They knew that last time they were in that locker room at halftime against that team, they came back from 11. So they knew they could have done it, and they had momentum. 11 points is really not that much. You have a lot of possessions. Like Brady obviously taught us that.
It gets in your head when you're away. You feel urgent to score and get back in it. Because it could change so fast with the Chiefs. You could give up. Well, I mean, you saw the Bills game. It was like 3 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. Like they are so quick that you're just waiting for the dam to break. And it's like they had a couple of chances and then they wouldn't get it and they wouldn't get it. And then they were 3 and out. And it's like, how long are these Bengals going to hold them? And they did it the whole game, the whole second half.
Yeah, I saw something on TikTok that they had 2 screenshots. One of Mahomes with the ball with 13 seconds left against the Bills. And they're like, Mahomes can come back. Mahomes can go like 70 yards in 13 seconds. And then they show a screenshot of the Bengals Chiefs. And they're like, look what he did in 13 seconds. And the pick that he threw in overtime was 13 seconds into overtime.
Oh, wow.
Exact. When the guy caught the ball, it was 13 seconds in.
Wow. So you're saying you borrowed time.
That's 13. Is 13 a lucky number or unlucky?
Unlucky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have some seasons like this where all the top dogs get out, and you have some Cinderella story. I mean,
it's a weird season. It really is.
It's a weird season.
It fits the season. The whole time we talk about, all these teams are beating each other. And that's why it was so hard to pick the playoffs. And look at that. The 2 number 1 seeds out and the top 2 seeds are out. And I think the Bengals are the 3rd seed.
Fourth.
They're the 4th seed, and the Rams are the 4th.
This is the lowest seeded
or fourth.
Lowest seeded Super Bowl, I think.
Lowest
Ever.
seeded Super Bowl ever.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
first time. It's the first time ever that the Super Bowl doesn't have one of the top 2 seeds from one of the conferences.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, you
also-
can sense that going in because
Yeah, because
It's
nobody's
also the
playing
yeah,
first
you
dominant.
could
time in
sense this was just such an unpredictable year.
First time in 19 years that the Super Bowl doesn't have a Brady, a Manning. Who was it? Who was the other?
49ers or
Garoppolo.
Roethlisberger.
49ers or Roethlisberger. Yeah, in 19 years. So I mentioned this last week. That's why I went with the Bengals. It's the year of the unpredictable, year of the underdog, year of the chaos pick. So, maybe it's in line for what this year's been like for the season.
It really
Yeah.
was. Let's go over to the Rams 49ers game. That one, it was the first game, literally the first game in, what was it? It was the 5th game. There's 4. I don't know. We had 4 straight walk-offs last week. Then the Chiefs Bengals play. That's a 5th straight walk-off. Get to the Rams 49ers. No walk-off this time. So they just won comfortably. Stafford just need the ball. So pretty boring game from that sense. No,
Well,
literally 20-17 Rams win. And it was sad. 49ers gave it all they had. Deebo Samuel, what an amazing season he had with his rushing yards combined with his receiving yards. I think 16 total touchdowns between the two. An amazing season. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty with the 49ers that we can talk about after we get through this game. But, Jimmy G and Trey Lance, who are they going to go with there? But let's look at the Rams. Their off-season pickup, Matthew Stafford. Now, I looked back and I remember I posted a TikTok and it was just the tweet of Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff getting traded. And that was January 30th. And literally a year later, they win to go into the Super Bowl. So the offseason pickup that of Matthew Stafford pays off tremendously. Then they go pick up OBJ. They go pick up Von Miller in the middle of the season. Both those have paid off tremendously. And now the Rams are going into the Super Bowl, just like the Bucs, with home field advantage in SoFi Stadium. Now, Bengals travel well. Rams don't have a lot of fans. So I anticipate a lot of Bengals fans are going to be going. But let's dissect that a little bit. So Rams beat 49ers. Who wants to start off right now? I don't know if anyone, did any statistics or analytics on this.
I'll start off. I didn't do any statistics or analytics, but I'll just bring up 2 things that stuck out to me. And I texted it to you guys actually during the game. It was amazing to me that neither defensive coordinator wanted to stop the opposing team's best player.
They probably wanted to.
No, they really didn't, because there was so many times, I can't even count, so many times that Cooper Kupp was left one-on-one, and so many times that when Deebo Samuel had the ball or was in the backfield that they didn't pay enough attention to him. How can you let Cooper Kupp, okay, so the Rams scored 2 touchdowns in this game, that's it, and Cooper Kupp got both of them, 11 catches, over 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, if you're the defensive coordinator and you're a week before, you're prepping for the game, aren't you trying to game plan for the best player? Who else are you trying to stop? Are you going in and being we're not going to let Cam Akers beat us? Okay, that's it. That's all we want. We don't care if Cooper Kupp does it. That's fine. But come on. And then on the other side, Deebo had, I want to pull up his stats too, because I don't think they were as good as Kupp's. Kupp had oh, it's not showing for some reason, but he had 11 catches, over 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Kupp did? You said?
Yeah, Kupp.
Along those lines?
Yeah, and also
well, you look it up, it's like if it's one-on-one, I think this happened in the Bengals games, not to bring it back to that, but I think in one of the critical plays, Burrow saw Chase was one-on-one, and it's just gonna go to your best guy. It's I don't want to say it's basic because there's a lot going on, but at least to the fan, it's come on, don't leave it to that. You know what I mean? It's you're you're not a bad quarterback, but you got to throw it to your best guy in that moment, and you know what I mean. It kept happening. So what are you gonna do?
And one of the touchdowns for Kupp, he was on the outside. He did an out route and then just curled up No one was over top. It was literally just
Well, because I mean, the safety was playing cover 2, so in cover 2 the corners are open, but at the same time, it's Cooper Kupp. Maybe you favor that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if the tight end,
Yeah,
the second string tight end goes down the middle and catches a good pass, then so what? But don't let Kupp be that open. Like,
Mhm.
but then on the seam side, Debo had that long touchdown. That short pass, like the screen pass, and then he took all the way. So
Amazing
was
play.
yeah, that was an amazing play, and both players are great. So like you can never shut them down. You could only hope to limit them. But the other thing that stuck out to me was McVay's challenges were really not that good. I didn't think he managed the game very well. Not
Mhm.
saying they got lucky by winning. I think they did play a better game, but he
Mhm.
kind of made a couple coaching mistakes there.
Especially with that interception from Tart that he dropped. Like
Oh,
a little lucky.
yeah, that was a little bit lucky.
But even if he made that catch, there's still a lot of time left anyway.
Mhm.
But still, that's a tough one to swallow for the 49ers. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on this game? You like Matthew Stafford. You like the Rams so far, right?
Yeah, I think this was a really good game. It was better than the Chiefs Bengals. Because you saw both. I'll say so.
Yeah, I think
It was more
I think
competitive.
so.
Wait, what? No, that was not. No, it was
Yeah,
not.
it was.
That's-
Yeah, it was more competitive.
I mean,
Yeah,
What?
good
there was
all
more,
How could
around.
you
there was
say
more
how could you say it
competition. It went to
wasn't?
overtime.
It went to overtime.
There
Yeah.
was 60 plus
That doesn't mean
minutes
it's
of
more.
competition.
That doesn't mean it's more competitive.
They also
There's
scored
more
more.
competition,
There
though.
weren't that much mistakes from the teams, specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Bad
just
calls by the
named-
coaches, but
I just named that dropped interception.
I think you saw both teams give it their all. That's why Debo Samuel was up, like, crying at the end, because he gave it his all. That's what you want to see. Every team gave the best, and the better team ended up edging out.
Okay, the
winning the
Chiefs
game.
gave it their best effort.
No, they didn't.
It
No,
just
they
didn't
made
happen.
stupid mistakes.
You have bad games.
No,
It doesn't mean they didn't try.
Well, but that's what we're saying. Neither the 49ers or the Rams played a bad game. The Rams just
Exactly.
played a little bit better. No, the Chiefs
Exactly.
had a bad game.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's
or did
kinda
they have a
screwed.
Yeah,
bad
but it
game
was-
because the Bengals were that good?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, so
exactly.
so the Bengals being that good and the Chiefs being that bad, that's not that competitive of a
Exactly.
game. That's what we're trying to say, is that in the Rams 49ers, it was closer of how the teams played.
No, but it's
Exactly.
like the Chiefs doing their best and the Bengals doing their best. Like that's more the angle
But it
we're
wasn't the
coming from.
Chiefs' best.
It wasn't the Chiefs' best.
But
It wasn't. The result doesn't mean they didn't try their best.
You're
could just
saying the
tell that
result.
wasn't
You're
the
saying the
games the
result
Chiefs
is
had
the only
was
thing because it went into
The coin
overtime.
toss.
So
Yeah, the best
telling
call
me-
of the game was the coin toss, and they didn't get it. You
The
know?
49ers best is 17 points. Wow, that's great.
dude, these teams have played each other two
Exactly.
times this year. What do
We
you-
played each other a lot.
you
Hey, but
expect?
shout out to McVay for coaching his guys, saying those 6 other times does not. Each one
I know, right?
I know it sounds silly, but it was like each one is its own game. You know what I mean? Like the gambler's fallacy is something that's happened previously is going to continue happening at the same rate, but it's like, no, it's like each individual game has its own factors, and it's just, you were playing this one, like we're going to play it. And yeah, I think the Rams did play the better game. I mean, I mentioned last week too, I'm not going to add too much more onto the game, but I did mention that it could go either way. Both teams definitely are good enough to have won that game in their own ways if things went their way. But the 49ers, I mentioned this was the question mark for me was always, and might still be, can they afford a mistake by Garoppolo? And
Right.
I don't want to say I was right in the last interception because it was kind of, I don't want to say hero ball. Like it bounced off the guy's hands. Like those are the kind of interceptions I don't know if it should count to the
Well,
quarterback.
He threw
but
it.
also-
He threw it
was
while
so
it was
high.
falling down.
Yeah, but if Mahomes does that, it's sick, But then if it's Garoppolo, it's different.
Well,
but
wasn't the Hill interception in overtime was deflected, so that's not Mahomes' fault. Well, of course it's his fault. He tried to
Mm.
throw it into double coverage. Kelsey was open. That's
No,
the
I'd be
quarterback's fault.
consistent
Don't
with-
throw it
with
into
it.
double coverage.
I'd be consistent with it calling if it's like it's debatable, but if it's some of those, I've talked about this before. Some interceptions are not the quarterback's explicit fault. You know what I mean? If it's a perfect pass in the numbers and the receiver bats it up in the air and then someone
Well,
else catches
then you
it, it's a
shouldn't have
stat
thrown
on
it.
the thing.
Then you shouldn't have thrown it to that guy.
No, they should do it like
if he's not
sacks.
that good of a catcher.
Interception should be a factor of how good how accurate the quarterback is at getting it to his guy. So those stats are skewed when those events happen.
But
Point being, though, is
if he's
I don't-
running across the field and you throw it at his body, that's not that good because he has to like turn a little bit. But if you have it right in front of him, that's the perfect spot. But if you put it in the perfect spot,
They should do it like sacks. So it's like 0.5 if it's like a tipped pass.
Something like that. Yeah. So that way it's like, okay.
Once it's tipped, it's the trajectory of the ball has changed, so it's not affected by the quarterback.
That'd be interesting. I'd like to, because that way it just skews the stats.
So
Because
what if-
sometimes you look at them and they're like, oh, he's thrown so many picks. Well, how many of them were like flukes? Like,
so you're saying so
yeah.
the Garoppolo one in overtime, you're saying that should be half an interception.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What?
Maybe.
No,
That was
it's just how it
completely-
is. It's
that
like
was
in
all his
sacks.
fault, though.
It's like in sacks when some guy wraps him around, he's twirling him around, and then right at the last second, another guy pushes him down.
A couple great quarterbacks have done.
sack.
I'm pretty sure Mahomes or Brady, like a lot of great quarterbacks on the way down, like try to salvage something, and if it works, they're sick. But if not, depending how clear. Like, my point is, it would not whether it's just interception or not, but ultimately for me, what it came down to was that whatever you say, whether it is interception or not, an interception came out of it. Whose fault it is. Whether the receiver, quarterback, whatever. But ultimately, I do think Stafford's just that guy. I talked about it last week. Like, you put Stafford as a QB versus Garoppolo, and Stafford, I think, has in the fourth quarter, is almost no one you want to bet against him. And literally, you may think Brady, but then he beat him last week, so 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
So he played that much better. Like, he came in clutch, and now, like you said, it's crazy that the Rams went all in, and now they're in the Super Bowl again with Stafford this time. It's almost more pressure on McVay to like utilize Stafford, because I think he's proven himself to be the guy, like, to be able to do that in one season with a new team. It's crazy.
Let's hope they score more than 3 points this time.
Oh, please.
Please. I remember us watching at Park Point.
That was the worst game I've ever seen in my life.
I think I remember telling you guys food was good.
Food was good. Game was sucky.
I remember telling you guys I would have rather done homework and know, even though I didn't want Brady to win, know that Brady was going to win and just not have watched the game. I would have been more productive of a day to have been doing homework instead. Like, it's just such a boring game. Coming off of the playoffs, the two games before it were really good.
Yeah, the two games, the 2
Oh
weeks
my
before, the
gosh.
Chiefs, Patriots, and then the Rams, Saints.
Great games, but even by regular season standards, it was a boring Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
This shouldn't be boring.
Yeah,
This is gonna be actually.
It's not going to be a great game, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a great game. I think one team's gonna be more dominant.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. We're gonna talk more.
I'm hoping for the best. Before we get into Brady and then our little Super Bowl sneak peek, Jimmy G. So it would be a stretch to say he led them to the NFC Championship. He was the quarterback at the time that they went.
He threw more interceptions than touchdowns, but okay.
I mean, Debo, it should be the San Francisco Samuels or something. It was all him. But
well, I mean,
have-
would
you
Trey
have-
Lance have taken this part? I don't know.
I don't know,
No,
Jonathan.
no, he wouldn't
You
have.
tell me.
No, he wouldn't have.
We talked about
Well,
this.
no,
Garoppolo's
not-
good enough to get you there,
Not
and
now.
maybe win
Not right now.
I'm talking like you know,
at their peak.
yeah, it's like this is kind of his year to sit, kind of like Mahomes. Now the second year, they trade away Alex Smith. Maybe they trade away Jimmy Garoppolo. Now Trey Lance comes in. And I feel like in this offense, it works a lot better with the running ability that he has. Like their red zone offense is going to be lethal next year. If they can get like a deep threat guy, like I don't know if I'm sold on Ayuk. He's just way too inconsistent. But if they could get like a deep threat Deshaun Jackson type guy, like that would be amazing. Because I feel like
I mean, imagine having Lance and Debo in the backfield, and then you got Kittle and then Ayuk. I mean,
you cover everywhere. You cover the short, you cover the middle, you cover the deep, like in all aspects.
yeah.
But Trey Lance, he threw the least amount of passes of any quarterback taken in the first round. So like there's a lot of question marks with his arm. Like his running ability is great. He's a big guy, but can he throw? And I think that's the risk I think I'm willing to take because it'll get you to the next level. And Jimmy G, you know what you're going to get, the game manager type guy. They had a great season when they went to the Super Bowl, another great season this year. But I feel like, the defense carried them to the Super Bowl. And that's similar with the Rams all the way back in 2018. So he hasn't been like the focal point, but this would be the next step in adding Trey Lance because he has that run ability. If his throwing ability is what they think it is, and they drafted him, third overall? So they obviously want to implement him pretty fast. I would not want him sitting a whole nother year and risk not making the playoffs with Jimmy G. So I would put Trey Lance in, and I would trade Garoppolo. I'm going to say I was wrong about Jimmy G just because I said I would trade him just because he sucked. But there's something to say about those game manager quarterbacks. You know, they do limit your risk, limit your problems, and a lot of quarterbacks or a lot of teams would want those type of quarterbacks. I mean, I just think for the 49ers, when you pair Trey Lance, Debo in the backfield, Kittle, like there's so many weapons around them that to add that running ability is lethal for that offense. So I think you trade him.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say Lance, like you said, I wouldn't be comfortable with him sitting another year. Like at this point, you got to be ready to give him a chance. Obviously, the accuracy and the reading the defense is the number one priority, but you give it a chance and you still, even if you know you're not going to make the playoffs, which they probably will if Lance starts, maybe not win the division, probably not win the division, but I'm just saying, I think it's time to give him a chance because that offense could be a lot more dynamic. And as far as Jimmy G, I mean, Lance, I think has learned from him enough, so maybe trade and try to get, I don't know, a safety or maybe a cornerback or I don't know, maybe a speedy receiver. But what if I think Garoppolo could go to the Bucks? I mean, where's there more of a perfect spot? The Bucks have the offense set up for a pocket passer like Brady just was. They have the roster to go to the Super Bowl, and they don't need any extravagant, running, quarterback that needs to get out of the pocket and make it crazy plays. You just need to be accurate, which Garoppolo is. Maybe he's not amazing under pressure, but they have a really good offensive line. So like if Rodgers doesn't go to the Bucks, I could see Garoppolo going to the Bucks and they would be a playoff team. They would probably win the division, I think, if Garoppolo went there, and they would compete for the NFC Championship.
Jonathan, anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 49ers, it would be a huge mistake if they let go of Garoppolo. You don't want to do that now. You want to keep him for the next couple of years at least, because Trey Lance is still not ready. I don't think he's going to be ready next season to be a starter and lead him to the playoffs. You want to keep Garoppolo there, have him be your quarterback again, let Trey Lance continue to learn for another year probably, and then we'll see where things go after your next season. But Trey Lance is not ready to lead this team. So
the best learning is just throwing him into the fire.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's another way to let your team go down the drain. I mean, there's superstars like Debo Samuel. They're gonna be upset. Kittle, they're gonna be upset. They're like, man, we wanted to go back to the NFC Championship, right? And
yeah, but why would they? You think they would say that? That's not right. Huh? That's not right. Like, what if you're Lance and then they let go of trade Garoppolo, and you're the starter, and then Debo and Kittle come out and they're like, oh no, shit. So, you can't say that.
I mean, they're gonna say that.
It's over.
Of course, you're not gonna say that, but like, you're gonna think that, like, man, we he went to the NFC Championship last year, and now we have to kind of babysit this sophomore. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Throws the ball. Like,
he was there too, right?
Yeah, Trey Lance he had touchdowns this year. It's not like he didn't play.
Rushing touchdowns, but like,
no, he had some passing touchdowns to Debo.
I mean, how are you going to learn? You spent your third overall pick for a quarterback,
right?
Like, if you don't
traded up,
you don't use him in the next 2 years. That was a wasted pick.
Yeah,
I mean, it's tough. They put themselves in this position. That's
I mean, they did put themselves in this position, but Garoppolo is not, like, he's still good. I mean,
but you forget that we were in the beginning of the season. We were talking about Lance maybe potentially coming in week 4 or week 5.
Don't put we. That was you and Jonathan. That was not.
Well, I'm just saying. Okay, I'm saying we, but I'm saying people in general. We're talking about Lance coming in, and starting
yeah.
the second half of the year. So now why are you saying, oh, now let him sit in 2 years instead? Like, we were going to have this guy playing.
Yeah. Sitting isn't good. I heard sitting, it's not good for your knees. So you got to get him out there. He can't sit for too long.
Maximum 1 year. You can't sit because he's going to get too nervous if it's 2 years. And it's like, he's like, I just want to play. Like, let me try.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. All right. Last thing before we get into the Super Bowl is Tom Brady. It is officially official. Now, he is retiring after 22 seasons. He was with the Patriots. He was with the Bucs. We all know 7 Super Bowls. A lot of good memories, a lot of bad memories. Good memories on this end of the podcast. The Eagles and Giants really had no issues with him.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I mean, Eagles and Giants just dominated them, and maybe Tom Brady just gave him those just because he felt bad for him. But
Yeah, probably.
No.
but I think we should go around, and if there's any, I know probably John and Caleb's, but I don't know about Jonathan. Are there any Tom Brady memories that just stick out to you when you think of Brady and all the years that you watched him and all the memories he created? Some good, some bad.
Well, he was a really good.
This is gonna be so hard for Caleb.
No. He played the part of a really good villain for the Eagles. Like, I think all the years of him becoming Tom Brady, winning those Super Bowls, to then, the Eagles coming with Nick Foles, the backup, it just made the victory Eagles fans waited so much sweeter. So for that, I thank him. In that way. On the real though, it is weird to see and to think of an NFL without Brady just being a factor as a player. I'm sure he'll be around. One of my first memories of football was his QB sneaks in like one of the Super Bowls or something. So it's someone you love to hate. Like when Kobe Bryant retired, there was like commercials about how much different fans from different teams hated him, but like as a player. Outside of the game, I think he's kind of grown on me, but there's still a lot of hatred there as from how much he dominated the league and how every team wants to be a dynasty now. So it's just more crazy. More of it's like the news kind of broke Saturday, if it was even real, but then it was official today. So you get to see a lot of players kind of have their reactions and such. But certainly you got to recognize like the most winningest quarterback and what he's done at that position. It's really crazy to think that we're moving. It's like him retiring is moving officially like the start of a new era. So it's a weird feeling, but I hope he does well in whatever ventures he wants to do.
Yeah, and I think the same thing. I mean, my memories of him first started when we beat him in the Super Bowl, which was fortunate. But I mean, it was
Which
just
one, once or the second time?
the
Oh,
first.
yeah.
Well, the first time, that's when it started. So like ever since I was into football, he's been out there. So yeah, it is going to be weird, and it's amazing how you see him. He's always he's always in the AFC Championship. Like, he always gets there. So it's like he played against Peyton Manning. Like, they had so many great rivalries on the Colts, and then when Manning went to the Broncos, and then Roethlisberger and the Steelers, and then late with Mahomes and stuff. So it's fun to see him just compete and basically win against all these like different players and all these great teams. But I think my best memory, and I think it's just the best game I've ever seen, was when the Patriots beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl that year, when we all watched the game together, and that was just crazy. I think that's the best game I've ever seen. Obviously, the best comeback ever. But it was a lot of fun to watch him in the later years, especially when he went to Tampa. He was able to have a little bit more fun and let loose a little bit, and just I think things that other people that us fans like us can take away is that he was such a great leader, and we talk about it all the time. But I think he was the best leader in football history, not only the best player. So like, just seeing his post of retiring and stuff, just always be thankful for everybody you have, work hard, and your dreams will come true. And one stat that I saw, which was pretty crazy, I know there's so many stats about Brady and his career and everything like that, but one that I saw that really stuck out to me is that he had 22 seasons that he played in, but 21 healthy seasons that he played the full season. That he had that one knee injury season way back when. But he, in 21 seasons, he led his team to the conference championship game in 14 of the 21 seasons, which is 66.7% of the time. So, and his career completion percentage was 64.2% of the time. So he was more likely to bring his team to the AFC Championship than just complete a pass.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
And
And
you,
with
when you
that
think
big
of
a
Brady, you're
sample
like,
size, it's incredible.
every time he drops back, you're like, oh, he's probably going to complete this pass. But no, it's actually more likely that he's going to the championship game than he completes this pass, which is like, just the greatness is just crazy.
Yeah,
That's incredible. What a
it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like the NFL without
It's
Brady
welcome.
just looming in the dark. Like you just know he's there.
I
Yeah.
welcome it. He's been such a X factor for so long. On one level, I do like. I know the reasons he said if he can't give 100%, but we talked about this I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, rather than see Brady decline, like to see him have one of his best years, maybe his best year ever at 44. He is 45.
Mhm.
44,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, we talked about like when a show ends in its prime, when it's at its peak, instead of like letting a TV show die out. Like it's just that way your only memories of Brady will be of at least he's competitive. You don't get to see one of the guys not do as well. Which, even as someone who wasn't a fan of him, like that's like props to that. Like to know when to end it. Because every athlete at one point hangs up the cleats. It's just the reality of the game. Any game really. Um, but to do it at the timing, I don't think it's just something you squeeze out, but you think of whether it's hopefully his head's on right with the injuries over the years or time with the family. Like to end on a high note is a privilege not many NFL players get. We talk a lot about these teams that go not often, but 1-16, 5-11 something. Some of those guys, this the season of their career. You know what I mean? So I think on some level, I think it's something to admire in that sense that he goes out on a higher note, even though he lost. I'm sure he would have won the Super Bowl and that be it. But to recognize, when it's time to move on to other things.
It almost doesn't feel like it's happening because it's not how at least I thought it was. Caleb, we were texting in the group chat how like, I expected like a Super Bowl commercial. I expect like him to go out with a Super Bowl ring, or I expect him to like, I don't know, like just be more in the spotlight. And this was just like, here's an Instagram post. Here's everything that I'm thankful for the whole 22 seasons. And like, I'm gone. It's like, it just doesn't feel like it's real. And I don't know, maybe the way he saw Roethlisberger go out was like, I don't want to get to that point. Like, I don't want to get to that point where I'm the reason that we're losing,
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's just so tough. I think one thing I'll say about Brady is that I think the reason he won, not because of like his skill, mainly from what John said, he was just a leader, like all of his intangibles. And everyone tries to compare like, oh, this guy's going to be like Brady. Even to this day,
probably Burrow's close.
Yeah, Burrow looks like Brady, whatever. But it's so tough to even compare. Exactly, John. It's so tough to compare it.
They're just trying to find the next.
Yeah, you're always like, oh, I want, like, they just want Brady back. Like his intangibles are next to none. And the way, my favorite basketball player, I have him over there if I could pan my camera, but it's Steve Nash. And one of the reasons I really like Steve Nash was one, he played for the Suns, but also players that played with Steve Nash had one of their best years, best times playing with him. Statistically, efficient wise, they had the best of their career. And that's because he made everyone around him better. And that's the mark of a leader. That's the mark of a captain of a football team, because there's 10 other guys on the field when he's there. So he needs to command and make sure everybody else is playing at their highest level, not just him. Because we know that Tom Brady isn't the most talented, gifted quarterback of all time. Some may say Aaron Rodgers is a more talented arm than Brady, but those intangibles, and every time player would come in for the Patriots and you'd be like, who the heck is that guy? Like, what the heck? And all of a sudden he goes off. I mean, even Danny Amendola comes in for the Patriots. It's a huge impact, goes over to the Lions and, doesn't really do much. Chris Hogan, a freaking lacrosse player, makes him like his second option in the Patriots offense. I mean, all those rotations of running backs, LeGarrette Blount, James White, forget the other guy, but I think one of the running backs left. Burkhead, like all these guys were starting in this offense that Brady had and Belichick, but I'm just talking about Brady. Like they were starting this offense and he was making them perform at the highest level. So that's something I think that we won't see. We may see glimpses of it like Burrow, but Brady lived it. Like he lived this philosophy of making everyone better. And he also just is timeless. Like he looks like he's 20. That's why it also just doesn't compute in my head.
What are you doing, man? What is going on? Well, we'll say too, we didn't mention yet was it's weird to think, not to add too much to it because we've been going on a little bit, but the one thing that I think is hard for not our generation, but I think anyone in the past 20 years who's watched football is to think of how big of an underdog he started out as, because he became the empire, like the Patriots dynasty, and himself were like such hard to beat. Like they just won so much, it was annoying, right? But when he started out, he was a 6th round draft pick that no one really counted as the next guy. So I'm not to say that, you never say never with sports or anything. Like we'll never see someone with, who knows? But what's I think is going to be harder in the years to come is for like now a lot of the first round quarterback picks do pan out, or if they don't, they die out really quick. But to see a 6th round, I think Brady actually mentioned it when he went to Michigan, like how people weren't really looking that hard at him, and to think based on what we know now, his valuation then, it's just one of the most interesting things that the NFL's most winningest player came from the 6th round. So it just gives you a perspective of what football's about in a lot of ways. Because he also wasn't the guy at Michigan, Not to say he was bad or good, but it's like all these guys, a lot of the guys now, it's like you kind of get an eye of like, oh, he's going to be a starter the first or second year. I don't know if we'll see that in a while of a guy who's drafted deep and then actually rises up to that level. Who knows? Because maybe we're better at evaluating talent, but that's another thing. You got to give credit to this, that his career started that way is really impressive.
Any last words, Jonathan?
Yeah. Sorry, I was off screen for a while, but
you're chilling.
You're good.
I want to start with the bad of Tom Brady. So a memory I remember, when I was maybe a little kid watching the Eagles versus the Patriots Super Bowl. We all wanted the Eagles to win because they're like underdogs, and we thought they were going to win. They're near that red zone, and I remember that interception that Donovan McNabb threw, and the Patriots ended up winning. And I noticed that like Tom Brady and the Patriots, all their Super Bowl victories were like 4 points or less. So they've all been really close games. And like, he ends up finding a way to win. It's annoying if you're the opposing team.
It's annoying.
The Seahawks, they should have won that one year. Russell Wilson threw interception. So it's just annoying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to appreciate his dominance and his excellence. It's tough to win a Super Bowl like once or twice and then continue to have that same mindset that, I still want more. I still want more. I still want more. Because, you look at Patrick Mahomes, he won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And I mean, he went last year too as well, but it's tough to win a few, like, let alone just get to the game.
Yeah.
And so he's been to the game, I don't know how much times, like about 10 or so.
Yeah,
right?
10 times has won 7 of them. And
so to have that mindset every single year that, hey, I still want another Super Bowl. I still want another Super Bowl. Him coming to the Bucks and still winning in the Super Bowl. That was probably the best one. That was probably the best one. He already had 6, and then he assembles a team and he's like, guys, let's get a Super Bowl. This guy is the greatest we've ever seen in the NFL, and there's nothing you can do but just admire his greatness and learn from it. Whatever we're trying to do in life, whatever our careers are, we can all learn from Tom Brady in terms of how consistent he was and how dominant he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really weird to not have him I don't know. It's just gonna be weird. I told the group chat, I was like, I think if Kyle Trask starts in the Bucks, and like he sees Trask like throw his like 10th interception in week 3,
He's out of retirement.
he's gonna be like, that's it. I can't do it anymore. Like I got it. I have to. Like I can't watch this, Giselle. Come on.
I wouldn't be
Please.
surprised if he came out of retirement because I mean,
No.
if he turns on the TV and watches these guys, I mean, he's still good. He
Like,
knows he can play a couple more years.
Yeah, he knows he could go for another 5 more years.
You
Like when he's 60, he's gonna regret. He's like, oh dang, I should just.
You could've gotten
I
5
should have
more.
won. I should have won 3 more. Made a double-digit Super Bowl.
No.
Dang it.
Still good. Like he said, a few years ago, they asked him the same thing. When are you gonna retire? He's like, I'll retire when I suck. He doesn't suck yet.
It's the girlfriend. It's the wife. They're always a
wife.
problem.
She's trouble,
They always
yeah.
get in the way.
No. We're not gonna. Well, I want to. Yeah. Well, we're not gonna say that. Okay. No. Jonathan, you did bring up a good point though, because we talked about this when he went to the Bucks and assembled the team and was outside of Belichick and the Patriots dynasty, and then also beat Mahomes and company, who were at their best. Like
They were
up and
comparing Brady to.
Yeah, and the people still say like Mahomes still has a lot of years. Like that's the heir apparent, and for him to go to a new team after being at the Patriots for so long and then winning, that's just more. That was like for me, that's the one argument that's like if he just stayed on the Patriots and never left that division or never left the coaching, people would be like, oh, it's all Belichick, all this.
Yep.
Well, now you have a little sample size to see. Like it's amazing. You say how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl once. To go to another team and do it again for the seventh win or 10th time, it is crazy. So it's a change. Yeah,
Wow.
we're not gonna say anything about his family. I hope he does well. I'm sure he's happy and he's doing the best thing for him and his family. And hey, maybe he gets to learn the joy of getting to watch a football game with the family. During the regular season.
It's a different
like that. I don't know.
lifestyle.
It
When you don't
is
play
different.
for a while. You just you hate being a spectator. You want to get out there, and we'll see how he adjusts to
Yeah.
that. But
Maybe he
Okay.
coaches. Maybe he coaches Michigan. There might be an open spot.
He's probably going to take a year off first. I mean,
What's
he's
he
going to
gonna
want
do,
to
commentate?
test it out and see. He's
yeah,
not
it's
going to
gonna.
all of a
I can't
sudden be like,
imagine
oh, I got to get back
commentating.
in right away.
I could see him doing a master class on like how to break down a defense or something.
Yeah,
Something with
yeah.
dieting. I see a lot of business. Something I don't know.
Or
He's going
We'll
to
see.
do like the Manning cast, but he's going to do Brady cast,
Exactly.
except where he's like drawing on the screen as the play. Like
It's hard to.
Or he's
picture.
like Tony Romo or Jason Witten, right? Jason Witten.
Gosh.
I've mentioned this to you guys, but I feel like if he really blossoms outside of the competitive football, like get out of the game, I think he has a little bit of a fun, goofy personality. I think it'd be fun to see more of that side of him. The way you see a little bit of that with the Manning cast,
Yeah.
something along those lines of like just letting them be themselves, but still like talk about football. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, he's smart. Like he's a lot of business ventures already. He was preparing for this. He has a new clothing brand that came out recently. Like,
Oh yeah,
he's
called
a lot of stuff.
Brady. Brady, yeah. Good name for a
that was
clothing line.
well, that was creative. I mean,
Maybe he could send us some, and we
We're
could
never gonna
promote
stop
it.
roasting him. Maybe that's just a given.
He can't just go away from the game entirely. Like there's gotta
no,
be
he's
some
obviously not going to go away from the game. That's what he loves.
I hope.
He's going to do something.
They're gonna be-
$95.
You know,
What? Oh, for a shirt?
It just says Brady on
Maybe we should DM him and be like, we'll promote.
it.
Just send us like free shirts and we'll wear them.
Come on the podcast come back
on the
and
podcast.
that's a sign that you're going to be in the Super Bowl.
Dude, imagine if we got Brady on our podcast
Dude, we'd have to
Dude.
pay him like $1,000 per minute.
No.
per second. What do you mean?
Yeah, per second.
That's not even enough, guys.
He's
So,
his
all right,
agent.
I got the first 5 seconds if anybody wants to pay for the next 5.
What'd
We
you
need
say?
to get a hold of his agent.
Oh, his agent. That's even harder, dude.
No. We got to wrap this. We're going
Honestly,
on. But if we
no,
meet
the-
up again, we got to review his food. That'd be a fun video.
He has
Review,
Oh,
his,
yeah.
meal review his meal plan.
Oh, genius, Caleb.
That'd be fun.
Well, I'll do that if Jared eats the pickle that he promised he'd eat.
Oh, yeah.
When was that?
When you said
Uh,
if Brady loses, I'll eat a pickle. and he
When was
lost to the
that?
Rams.
This is about a week or two ago. I don't know if it was. I forget what the circumstance was.
Was that
but
on live?
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's
we have it.
recorded. It's posted on
It's
YouTube.
it's on the podcast. I just forget what the circumstances was, but I think you're on the hook, buddy.
I said if Brady wins, I'll buy his meal plan, but he didn't win.
Well, if you find that clip, send it to me.
They're
And
good for you. They're good for you, Jared. Don't worry.
I don't even know if I can find them up here.
Oh, like I said
I'm
the last
sure.
time, I'll make sure I'll go to
yeah,
your
I do.
house.
I do remember that now.
We're reliving the same thing.
Oh, right. We
Yeah.
don't want to. We don't have to.
Oh gosh. All right. So as far as the Super Bowl goes, I know we say we preview it, but we went a little bit longer per usual. So our Super Bowl episode will be next week. It'll be during the Pro Bowl. How exciting, the Pro Bowl. Huh? So is Brady going to the Pro Bowl, by the way? No.
I have
probably
no
not.
idea.
I
Probably
think if he's
not.
retired, I don't even think you. That's a good question, actually.
It's like the first time he actually can. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on Brady, maybe your favorite memory of Brady, and who will win the Super Bowl. I'm curious to know. And make sure you hit the like button. We will be going live in 2 weeks during the Super Bowl or before the Super Bowl. And we'll potentially do a giveaway. That's as far as I'll say for now. Still in the works, but keep a lookout for that. Make sure you go over to the Instagram and over on TikTok at Dorn Debate Podcast and follow us over on those platforms. And for our Spotify listeners, make sure you rate us 5 stars on the Spotify app, and Apple Podcast listeners, make sure you rate us 5 stars and leave a review, and we will say the review on the podcast. I actually didn't even look before the podcast, so on the next one, I'll look. And you'll be able to get a shout out on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next week.